Hey everyone, Tom from Eisenhart Productions here, and today I want to complain about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This movie has been dragged a bunch on YouTube already, but I wanted to throw my hat into the ring, because I have lots of thoughts about this film in particular, and why I think it's such a disappointment. Fair warning, there will be spoilers for each Indiana Jones movie, so keep that in mind before watching this video. Now, this movie broke my heart. I really wanted to like this movie, but once I finished it, I felt like it really didn't need to happen. Indiana Jones is my favorite movie series of all time and a character I care so much about. Raiders of the Lost Ark is the movie that made me love movies. It showed me the magic of movies and inspired me so much. All the Indiana Jones movies inspire wonder and adventure, but this movie just inspires nothing. It falls flat. I think what really made me dislike this movie was that they had to devolve characters just so they could have a character arc within this movie. The main example being Indiana Jones himself. Even though Kingdom of the Crystal Skull wasn't the greatest movie ever, it sent off the character pretty well. At the end of Crystal Skull, Indiana finally settles down with Marion Ravenwood and starts a proper family with his son Mutt. In Dial of Destiny, this is completely undone. And to make things worse, it's undone off screen. We don't even get to see critical character moments that dictate the way in which our main heroes act within this film. They have completely devolved this character so they can squeeze more narrative juice out of them. This seems to be the problem with a lot of Disney properties that center around previously established characters. The Kenobi TV show is another great example of this. Obi-Wan has already gone through an entire character arc within the prequel trilogy that has progressed him to the point that we see him in A New Hope. However, the showrunners had to devolve the character so that they can make the show take place between the prequels and the original trilogy. One of the big draws of the Indiana Jones film series is the action set pieces. These films are revolutionary in pushing the boundaries of action and stunts on screen. Each Indiana Jones movie has an iconic chase scene that you remember from the film. Raiders has the truck chase, Temple of Doom has the minecart chase, Last Crusade has the tank chase. Even Crystal Skull had a great motorcycle chase towards the beginning of the film. Dial of Destiny tried to recapture this with the tuk-tuk chase, but it just kind of fell flat. Now, why is that? Could it be the messy camera work, the over-reliance on CGI, the lack of stakes or personal connection? Hey, maybe it's all of it. The over-reliance on CGI is very apparent in the opening sequence, as we got Uncanny Valley Harrison Ford because they decided to de-age him for this movie. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of de-age technology, as I have yet to see a movie where it looks better than just recasting a younger actor. Granted, there are great moments in this scene and fun blocking with the action, but it doesn't quite hold a candle to the original films. That's because they actually sent these madmen to perform these stunts. That is actually Harrison Ford hanging on the front of a moving truck, and it's in one long, unbroken take. I know that for Dial of Destiny they couldn't do things like this due to the fact that Harrison Ford is literally 80 years old. But that doesn't mean they still can't make the action look good. If you see behind the scene photos and videos, Harrison Ford is still doing a lot of his own stunts in the movie. However, a lot of these stunts didn't translate well to the screen. It doesn't help that there's this weird tint over the whole movie. Seriously, why does the color correction look like this? Does it bother anyone else or is it just me? Am I crazy? Maybe I finally lost it. Dial of Destiny is the longest Indiana Jones film at 2 hours and 30 minutes. That is 30 minutes longer than any other Indiana Jones film. With this longer runtime, it still feels like so much less happens compared to other films. Dial of Destiny does not feel like an Indiana Jones movie. It feels like a mediocre adventure movie that happens to have some of the same characters from the Indiana Jones series. Sala and Marion just kind of show up in the movie when they really don't have a purpose to. It's kind of just nostalgia bait at that point. The whole ending with Marion and Indy where they make up does not hit the emotional beat it needs to because we've already seen them reconcile in Crystal Skull. Like I said earlier, they devolve the characters so that they can hit the same emotional beats, but they just did it worse the second time around. This is why the film feels so unnecessary. It doesn't really add anything new to Indiana Jones' character, apart from his son dying off screen and, traveling him back in time. It makes you wonder what the point of the movie was. The short answer is money.
Hello, I like money.
But they failed on that front with the disappointing box office returns. I think Hollywood is starting to realize that just because you make a new sequel or a reboot to a popular old franchise doesn't mean you're always gonna make money. And it's sad that my favorite movie franchise had to be the one to prove this, because I really wanted this movie to work. I'm starting to get into nitpicky territory, but another big gripe I have with this movie is that the main villains didn't get a face-melting type death. One of the staples of these films is seeing Nazis die horrible deaths that come from their own ego, but this film was not really creative with the deaths. In the past, we've seen bad guys' faces melt, get torn apart by crocodiles, age in a matter of seconds, and get their eyeballs burnt out by aliens.
Interdimensional beings, in point of fact.
I mean, interdimensional beings, my bad. But in this movie, Voller just gets shot and then his plane crashes. No supernatural or mythical powers that cause him to die, they just die in a plane crash. I mean, where is the creativity? It's a shame too, because Voller is one of the best Indiana Jones villains we've ever seen. And he's wasted on a trash movie like this one. We have these fantastic actors like Mads Mikkelsen and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but they aren't utilized enough in the script. Mads Mikkelsen plays the villain well, and there are a lot of good moments that involve him. Even though I'm not a big fan of the whole time travel thing, the scene where Voller realizes he's screwed up and Indiana Jones is laughing at him is fantastic. That feels like a classic Indiana Jones moment. I just wish we could have seen more stuff like that. Speaking of the time travel, that's another point where I think this movie kinda dropped the ball. When it comes to Indiana Jones movies, there's a certain level of suspension of disbelief. This series has not prided itself on being the most realistic, but it's always leaned into the mythical and biblical when it comes to artifacts. A big gripe people had with Crystal Skull was the presence of aliens.
Interdimensional beings, in point of fact.
Interdimensional beings, my bad. A lot of people felt that aliens in that movie didn't fit the tone or world of Indiana Jones very well. I have similar thoughts about time travel in this movie. Aliens and time travel are so intertwined with the science fiction genre that they feel pretty out of place in the Indiana Jones world. But hey, that's just my opinion. I know some people would disagree. I think the ending of this film is what really solidified it as my least favorite indie film. At the end of the movie, after they have time traveled back to ancient Rome, Indiana decides he wants to stay in the past. However, Helena wants Indiana to come back to the present to be there for her and for Indiana's family. In this moment of the film is usually when the main character makes an important choice that shows the lesson that they've learned over the course of the film. Think about The Last Crusade, when Indiana is stuck dangling above an abyss. He's holding on to his father, but the Holy Grail is nearly in reach. In this moment, he makes the decision to choose his father over the Grail. He chooses his family over fortune and glory.
Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory.
In Dial of Destiny, he is faced with a similar moral quandary. He can choose to go back to modern day and be there for his family, or he can choose to live his life in the past for his own selfish desire. What separates Dial of Destiny from The Last Crusade is that Indiana doesn't get to make this decision for himself in Dial of Destiny. The choice is made for him. Indiana Jones is knocked out by Helena, and then the movie fades to black. When we return, they are back in the present and everything is back to normal. Indiana doesn't get to show us the character growth that he's experienced over the past 2.5 hours. The movie just tells us that he's changed. Indiana being robbed of his own character arc and agency within the story is the biggest offense to me, and why I think this was the most disappointing movie of 2023. It's a shame, because this movie had a lot of great things working for it, as there was a really talented cast and crew who all worked on the film. We had Harrison Ford excited to return to the role. We had John Williams back for the score, which was the highlight of the movie. We had talented new actors like Mads Mikkelsen and Phoebe Waller-Bridge coming to the franchise. We even had James Mangold directing, who has an amazing track record with great films. I really wanted to like this film, but they just fumbled the bag and the movie just felt pointless. It truly broke my heart. So those are my thoughts. What did you guys think of the movie? Until next time.